Welcome to It's All Fine and Dangy, where we talk about community, health, culture, and all of the big and little things that make life good. Here are your hosts, Dan and Angie.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 97 of the It's All Fine and Dangy podcast. Super excited for today's show.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, so this is a first for us. We are actually going to have our first international guest. So how exciting is that? Yes, so we are going to welcome Jayne Gooding, and she is an author of the fictional series The Thick Blue Line, which sounds so interesting that I'm going to put it in my Amazon cart and order them today. Actually, I might do them on Kindle. And so we are super excited to talk to her about her series. And we would like to welcome from Turkey, Ms. Jayne Gooding. How are you today, Jayne?
Hi, both of you. And thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast. I'm really good, but a little bit cold.
Oh, how cold is it there?
Cold here. Ooh, it's there's snow on the mountains, put it that way. It's quite drafty here.
Oh my goodness. So you guys are probably measured temperature by Fahrenheit or by Celsius. We measure by Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Prop fix.
Is that an edit right there? But so you guys probably measure by Celsius. We measure by Fahrenheit. I don't know what the difference is because I have staff that work in Canada, so we talk about this sometimes, but it's probably 80 degrees Fahrenheit here now. So you can imagine the difference.
So I'm not quite able to do the conversion without looking it up.
Yeah. We have the air conditioning on
it's
here.
Warm.
Let's put it that way.
It's quite warm. And it might sound nice to you, but the snow sounds really nice to me.
But it's cold. I don't like the cold at all.
You don't like the cold?
No, but it's only for a few months. I mean, the sun shines most of the year here.
Oh, very nice.
Well, that's tolerable.
Yeah.
Like I could tolerate that. I just probably stay indoors most of the time.
So Jayne, before we get into the discussions around your books and your career, which we're very excited to talk about, every time we do an interview with a guest, we like to start off by asking the guest just a little bit about themselves personally. So, as much as you'd like to share, but we like for our guests to know a little bit about you.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from England, from Devon, Plymouth, actually. My parents were Plymouth born and bred. I have two sisters, or had two sisters. One sadly died at 40, and a brother. Myriads of nieces and nephews. A lovely, lovely family. I joined the police when I was 20 in Devon, Cornwall. I did 21 years there until I took my sergeant's exam. I was a bit of a late starter with that because it wasn't that I was lazy. It's just that I was so challenged in what I was doing that I didn't feel that I wanted promotion. But when I did, I went for it. And then I went to Sussex. I transferred to Sussex Police, where I did my remaining 9 years.
Wow. So 30 years in the police force.
30 years, yes.
That's amazing.
It's usually 30 years in England. I think it may be longer now as they've put the ages up, haven't they, to retirement. But I was very lucky to retire when I was 49.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, that is.
I'd always loved Turkey. I came here first in 1985 on a holiday and fell in love with it. And so I was drawn to Turkey. I felt like my soul was here. And so I bought a house, and much to my mum and dad's disappointment, because they thought I would be there with them, I moved here on my own in 2005 when I retired, and I've been here ever since. And I absolutely love it. I love my home. I hug my pillows almost daily. I've got a beautiful dog that I found in the bin when she was 5 weeks old.
A rescue. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it was 50 degrees centigrade at the time, and that's really hot. I mean, really hot.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was a little cat. I was young enough to climb into the bin until I found the bag that contained her. And she's turned out to be a purebred English setter.
Oh, wow.
She's absolutely beautiful. She's a big dog now. She's 13 and a half. She's getting old.
Yeah.
But she and I live here. I've got loads of beautiful friends.
I love it.
obviously in touch with my family,
Mhm.
and life's good. Yeah,
So
Oh,
you
awesome.
moved there all on your own. You didn't know
I
anybody
did.
there, really?
No, I didn't.
Wow, that's so brave.
You're
Yeah,
quite the adventurous. I
I've
love
always
that.
been an adventurous. Yes,
Yeah.
always.
And I love that you said that when you visited Turkey, it spoke to your soul.
It did. Yes, I'm very spiritual. Even my house. I'll tell you a quick story. I wanted to buy a property to retire to, and I'd been all over Turkey on Gulet cruises, which were absolutely beautiful. If you ever want a lovely holiday, book a Gulet cruise, which is the old fishing boats that have been uh, made into luxury boats
Like
for
a
a
like a
fortnight.
yacht or something
Oh, they're
almost?
beautiful. And
Oh,
you go all
neat.
over the coast of Turkey. You see a different Turkey than most holiday
Oh,
makers.
wow.
You see the mountain goats, you see little villages that most people wouldn't ever see. And
Oh,
I I went across Turkey looking for somewhere to live, but didn't find anything that I liked. And then I went into an estate agent's and I saw a picture and I said to my friend, "That's my house."
mm.
So I got the estate agent to take me there. He didn't actually take me to the one that I saw in the picture, but I was very aware when I did walk to the one that was in the picture that it was my house. And there was a very old man in the house. He was lovely actually, and I was a bit cocky, I was a bit arrogant. I was still working, and I'm always funny. I always think everything's funny, and I kept winking at this Turkish guy, this old Turkish man, every time I said something that was remotely funny, not realizing that you're not supposed to wink and laugh at older Turkish men.
Oh,
You didn't know the culture yet there.
Well, I didn't know, but I mean, he kept winking back, so I carried on. Anyway, um, and the estate agent said to me, "Do you like the house?" Well, I wasn't going to tell him I was in love with it. It was my house, and I was going to have
Yeah.
it.
of course.
I said to him, "It's okay. It's okay. There's a few things that I don't like about it." And he said, "Well, this is the price." And I said, "Oh, I wouldn't be paying that for it. I wouldn't pay anything like that for it." So he asked me how much I would pay for it. And I quickly did the calculations in my head and I thought, I'll say about half. So I came up with about half what he asked. And he said, "Well, thank you for just wasting my time." And I said, "Well, I haven't wasted your time because you've had me as company. Well, what more could you want?" And I sort of laughed at this Turkish guy and winked. And then I found out that this Turkish guy was actually the builder. His son was the architect, and he spoke perfect English. And he
Oh,
said, "How much did she say?" And he told him, and he said, "Please tell her she can have the house. I want that lady in my house."
Oh
And I
my
was like,
goodness.
"Wow, really?"
what?
Yeah. So that was that.
Yeah.
I
That's
bought the house.
amazing.
I loved my house. It's absolutely beautiful. People stand outside. I see them leaning on the wall, looking at me, and I say to them, "Can I help you?" And they say, "No, just looking at your house. It's absolutely stunning. It's
Oh,
the
I
most
love
beautiful
that.
house."
Oh,
And I
wow.
knew, it sort of hugged me as I walked down the path. I knew as soon as I saw the picture, this is my house. This is where I want to be, and this is the house that I have.
And it's like, and that's the thing. You put it out there in the
Yeah.
universe, and that person that you were winking at, he could feel that, I'm sure. Like,
Well, he said that I had an aura. I think he was spiritual too, and he said, "I
wow.
would love to think this lady was in a house that I'd built." And
Yeah. And
I
that's
still
very
see him.
important to architects, and builders. Like, they don't want somebody that's going to come in and change a bunch of stuff in the house that they put all their sweat and
I
tears
love
and love into.
Oh, of
They
course.
want somebody that's going to appreciate it's art to them. So they want somebody that's going to appreciate that.
I think it's also a good example of how expressing just being yourself
Yes.
and expressing your personality in the world, it often gets you to a better place than you trying to go, okay, yeah, I'm sorry for wasting your time too, or whatever. And
Uh-huh.
just
You,
like a lot of people would do, you were yourself about it. And I love that. That's a great story. So wow, I'd love to see a picture of your house now too.
yeah, you need
I'll
to take us
I'll
on a
send
tour.
you a photo. I can send you a few pictures. It really is a beautiful house.
Oh,
I
we
mean,
would love that.
it's got like an archway, and it looks like the stones are just hanging on by, willpower.
Sure.
Wow.
Cement. And I used to hug the pillars of it when I first bought it. I just love this house. You know, I've
Oh,
had the
wow.
same house now 16 years. And people say to me, "Oh, when you sell your house, I've got friends that would like it." I say,
It's not
"I'm not
happening.
leaving this house. I love this house. My soul's in this house."
How?
I
I mean,
have
that's another example of just achieving your goal too. Imagine just looking
Yeah.
at a house going, "That's my house," and it
That's
is. That's a power of intention right there.
That I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for that story. That was like amazing.
Yeah.
You're welcome. But I've always been that sort of person, really. That I was actually I said this to Dean in the week. As I was in the police force, I never set limitations for myself. I sort of, in an arrogant way, I guess, I sort of believed that I was capable of anything that I put my mind to. And
Love it.
because I never set myself limitations, I never reached my limits.
You don't have any then. Yeah.
No,
You don't
I
have
didn't
any.
have any. And I've always thought the sky's the limit. If you really want something, you know, and you go for it, you'll end up with it. That's how I
Yes.
felt.
I
Yeah.
love that. So let's talk about some of your time in the police force because you had this great career, 30 years. But when you did come into the police force, there were some challenges that you had to face. And
There were plenty.
and this goes into we were talking earlier before we started recording about girl power. That's
Yeah.
my word I use, to encourage ladies and young ladies. Hey, use your girl power.
Yeah.
Okay. But really, you had to have a lot of that during the time that you entered the police force. So tell us a little bit about that, whatever you would like to share. And how did your experiences turn into writing a series of books?
Well, I'd have to take you right back to when I was a young girl, really, to explain that to you, if you don't mind. It's a bit of a long story, but I'll cut it. I'll price it down as much as I can.
Of course, of course.
I had beautiful parents. I mean, absolutely beautiful. My mother was like a film star to look at. She came from a very good-looking family and a very well-educated, intelligent family. And my father was equally intelligent, but he was a very quiet man. And I came from a very old-fashioned family where my father went out and earned the money. He was a sea captain, and he would give my mum the money, and he never saw that money again. Mum paid the bills, and she ran the house, and she ran the children. My father didn't have any real input in, looking after the children. And my mother was a very good cook. She was a very good mother, but she had 3 daughters, one after the other. So by the time she was 22, she had 3 young children, 3
Oh,
young
wow.
girls. And unfortunately for me, she treated us like triplets. And I never wanted to be. I wanted to be my own self, even as a youngster. My sisters were very girly girls. I wasn't. My mum
Relatable.
my mum used to buy us dolls, for presents, and I didn't like them. Partly because once I saw the sawdust inside one of the dolls' heads, and from that moment, I hated dolls. And Mum stopped buying me dolls because I used to abuse them. I used to push pencils through their ears, and
This
and
is very relatable.
Oh my gosh, these are like stories I've told
food in
Dan.
food in their mouths, and just generally mistreat them. But I didn't like them. What I wanted, I didn't want to dress like one of the I say one of the Andrews sisters because that's what I felt like. I was a set of triplets. We all wore the same dresses,
Yeah.
same little shoes. In those days, little white gloves. I absolutely hated it. I wanted to be myself, and
Mhm.
I didn't want to play with dolls. I wanted to play with magic tricks, chemistry sets. I used to take clocks to pieces if I was given a clock. Mum bought me an Etch-a-Sketch for Christmas. I had that in pieces before lunchtime.
Oh my God.
I needed to know how everything worked.
Oh yeah.
I had this brain that says, I want to know how everything works. And so I used to destroy them really and then try and put them back together again, which didn't always work. Anyway, Mum had very stereotypical ways of how she thought a lady would behave, and I didn't.
She's like,
So,
what do I do with this?
yes, I think I was very quiet. I was a very quiet child. I was always on my own. I was always rock climbing while the others were making nice sand castles at the beach. I had quite a few accidents, falling down cliffs and doing things that, little girls didn't usually do. But I was always the adventurer. And my mum tried to stop that, really. I passed 11 plus, much to my mum's surprise. And I went to a girls' school. But my mother didn't believe that girls should have an education.
Oh, wow.
She felt that just the boys had to have an education. And
Wow.
I wanted to be, I wanted to go to university. I wanted to be a psychiatrist, or, what I wanted to do is I wanted to watch body language, because I was always very interested in it. I could always suss out people by watching their body language. But Mum took me out of school at 14 and told me I had to have a lady's job, and so she sent me to secretarial college. Well, that was really a square peg in a round hole, if you like.
I was going to say that did not work out. You taking orders from other people? No.
But I was good at it. That's the thing. I was really good at it. I sort of flew through the college, and I tried to get a job, or my mum tried to get me a job. She kept making interviews for me at building societies. Well, I couldn't think of a worse life than working at a bank or a building society. No disrespect to anybody that does, but
Sure.
Of course, it wasn't for you.
And so she used to make an interview. She used to put me in her dresses and put makeup on me, which I hated. And she used to drag me, park outside, and take me to this bank that she'd made an appointment for me to be a typist. And so I was very shy, as I said. I was quite gawky because I was over 6 foot in height, 6'1". And I used to go in and say to the person that met me for interview, "Look, please don't look now, but my mother's outside. I'm sure you're a very nice place to work, but it's not for me. Would you mind hiding me away for 10 minutes? Perhaps with a cup of tea would be lovely. And then I won't waste your time and you won't waste mine, but I really don't want to work here." And I used to say, "Sure." So,
Oh, wow.
And then what did you go back out to your mom and just say
I
they
used to say,
didn't
I'm too young.
I didn't
I'm too
I didn't get
young.
the you were too young. Oh.
Too young, mum. They want, which was a little white lie, but I
Yeah,
wasn't
sure.
like that, They wanted somebody that worked on an electric machine, and I was taught on a manual, anything I could think of. And my mum used to say, but I think she cottoned on in the end, because she took me to a secretarial agency where she could sit next to me.
Oh,
So,
no.
so
Oh,
I was
goodness.
stuck. So I went to work for an electrical factory. And I worked for first of all, I worked in a typing pool, which was supposed to be. Tell me if I'm getting boring, because I'll stop.
No,
No,
not
it's
at all.
interesting. Yes.
It was supposed to be for 6 days, but I was there for like 13 weeks. And Mum was quite happy because I was paying my housekeeping and I was making friends and stuff like you do. And then all of a sudden it came to an end. And I'm like, oh my God, because I really didn't want to work in this bank that my mum had, earmarked for me. So I went to the electrical company that I was working with, and I asked if they had any vacancies, and they had one, but it was for a 35-year-old secretary. And I was 17. So I said
Okay.
to them, "Could I have an interview?" And they said, "Well, I don't think you're 35. I said, "No, but please can I have an interview?" So they said, "Well, okay, but he's looking for 35-year-old." Well, anyway, this really handsome guy, he was only a youngster, actually. He was about 5 years older than me, I guess. He came in and he said, "Have I come to the right place?" Because, my interview's with a 35-year-old. I said, "Well, no." I said, "But you're going to be really pleased with me, because I'm only 17, but I'm far more qualified than anything you've asked for, and I haven't been spoilt by anybody. I'm only going to know your way. So if I do a filing system, it's going to be the way you want it. I don't have to unlearn any bad habits. I will actually be in tune with whatever you want." And he's like, "Wow." And I talked my way into him saying to me, "When can you start?" So
I
I
love it.
started.
It's funny, Jayne, as you described yourself as shy, but the way you're talking,
don't
that's
sound
like a very
shy.
assertive woman,
Yeah.
like it doesn't
Well,
seem
I was
shy to
strong,
me.
but I was shy.
Strong,
Yeah.
strong, would
Strong,
say,
but
yeah.
shy. Okay, I got you.
So here I was now. I was in this I had a lovely boss. I had a lot of responsibility because really it was for a 35-year-old. So I was paying apprentices and, he put me in charge of apprentices and I did a lot of work. And anyway, I was there for 4 years, 17, 18, 19, yeah, about 3 or 4 years. And then one day I decided that I wanted something more. And one of the ladies, well, there were 3 ladies there, and they all had daughters my age who were leaving school. And I saw an application for the police force, and my mum was becoming, bless her, I know it was only for my own good, but she was becoming more and more dominant into what I would be doing. That you have to leave there, he has to give you a pay rise. There was a lot of interference, and so
Yeah.
I wanted to. Where can I go where I can legitimately run away,
And
but
be
be my own
independent.
person? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I opened this application book, this book about Devon and Cornwall Police, and there was an application in the back, and there was a loose one inside. And I thought, well, they're not going to miss the back one. I'll cut it off because they've already sent away for the application form. And on a whim, I filled it out and sent it off. And my mother was very angry when she realised that I'd put in for the police. She did not want me to join the police. And so I went off for my interview. I didn't have qualifications because I'd been taken out of school. I had 1 English O-level, 1 CSE, and they wanted, I think it was 7 O-levels and 2 A-levels. And I'm like,
And that's like college credits, correct?
yes,
Okay.
yes. So I beg your pardon. Yes, it is. It's college credits really, and I didn't have them. So, but I spoke to a lady that my mother didn't want to speak to. She didn't want to let her into the house because she told her, my daughter's not joining the police force. But I said, look, I'm 20 and I
Mhm.
really want to join. And so she said, well, you can take an entrance exam and I'll see you at the headquarters. And I went to headquarters on my own. I took the exam, I was the only one out of 30 people that had to take it because everybody else had qualifications coming out of their ears. And I passed it. I passed it apparently with 100%. And I remember
Wow.
saying to me, unless you're rude to the superintendent that interviews you, you've got a job. And I was like, wow. Because I'd
Okay.
always thought I was, that I wasn't good enough to be in the police. And so I felt like I'd won the draw ticket, a lucky draw ticket. But anyway, my parents weren't interested when I got home. They didn't even ask how I got on at the interview.
Oh,
They were very anti me joining the police.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I think my mum realised that I was an adventurer and that I was going to do something pretty dangerous.
yeah.
But she told my father that she didn't think I'd last more than 3 weeks because I was so shy. And 30 years I lasted. So
Wow.
yeah.
So
But,
obviously that relationship with mom has changed.
well,
How
my
does
mum,
she feel about that?
my mum unfortunately passed away 2 years ago. And this is why I came to, it's not that I'm just talking. This is why I came to write the books, is that my father sadly got Alzheimer's, and my mother was marvelous with him. She nursed him for 7 years. And then as soon as my father died, my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
goodness.
And so we had to watch, as children, we watched,
Yeah.
young adults,
The
we
decline.
watched
Yeah.
both of our parents. And, my mum was my idol, as strong as she was. I must get that from her. But,
Hmm.
but I had so many secrets, and they never knew my work life because by the time that they were interested, they both were ill. So,
Oh.
Oh,
so I decided to write the books when I was going through a grieving process after losing my mother,
Oh
and
wow.
I put all everything in there. My heart and soul went into those books. Um, I came out because I was gay, and I'd never told my parents. So
Oh
that was
wow.
a big thing. I'd never told any of my family members. I
Wow.
was
It was like therapy writing these
Well,
books, wasn't it?
was. And I always knew I was going to write a book. I
Hmm.
wasn't expecting to write 3, but I wrote a trilogy because it just kept coming, there was so much in my head, and it just kept coming out, and there was more and more. I mean, because I don't mean to be rude or big-headed, but I've had a very big life.
It sounds like it.
My life's been full of adventure. It's been, I've always had my head above the parapet to meet challenges, and it's been a very exciting life. And as I was writing, sort of more and more memories came back, floods of, people that I'd worked with, amazing people, courageous people, really dedicated people, and a couple of idiots.
But that always makes a good part of the story, doesn't it?
The comic relief.
So my books are full of all these beautiful people, but they're also full of the idiots. The idiots.
Yeah.
Of course.
I had to be careful because of the Official Secrets Act, but I don't think anybody that was an idiot is going to come back and say, "Hey, why are you writing these things about me? You made me look an idiot." And I would say, "Well, that's because you were an idiot." Nobody's going to admit it, so I think I've got away with it.
Well, so I have a question about that. So such a great story,
Gosh,
leading
amazing.
up to what, and now it's very clear to me and anyone listening that the writing process for you was largely just cathartic than maybe planning to write. But and I know you've been very successful with these books, and we're going to get into that too. But did you, prior to this, did you want to write, or did you just think of this as a way of mourning and the loss of your mom? What did you have a desire to write before that ever, or was it just born from that? No,
I never had. No, I say no. I know I used to, laugh with my friends here because they weren't police, and so I was a bit of an anomaly, really. And people used to say to me, "Oh, what's the funniest thing that ever happened to you?" And I used to tell them stories, and they used to say to me, "God, you should write a book, Jayne. You're so funny." And my books are funny. They are funny, but they're also sad. They're sort of roller coaster books,
Sure.
Yeah.
I know people say to me they've been on a bus here, a dolmush we call them, but it's a bus, and they said that they've been so engrossed in the book, and they've suddenly started laughing out loud, and then they realised that they're on a bus and everybody's looking at them, and it's like, sorry,
Crazy.
And I've had people say to me that the books have made them cry. It is a real roller coaster of emotional, events, just like it was in real life, actually.
I was going to say, but being in the police force, there is that such a range of emotions that you go through from, the time when you save somebody's life to you might have to take a life, or, you've seen something horrible happen to a child, or there's just so many different levels of it. And police officers have to keep their composure through it all. So I can't even imagine trying to, not stay stagnant, but, you have to kind of look like the one that is in charge, keeping calm and not being able to really express the emotion in that moment. So you've put that into the book, which is really cool.
You're absolutely right. And the trouble is, you could just join the police, and as soon as you put on that uniform, somehow people look at you and think that you're this person that knows all the answers.
Of course.
Yeah.
And of course you don't, because you're not equipped for learning. And I'll tell you a very quick story how I, I realized I was shy and that I couldn't go forward being as shy as I was. And so I used to give myself exercises to do, like a baptism by fire, because I was petrified when the car radio went off. I had an older woman that used to tutor me for 10 weeks, and she'd say, answer the radio. It's like, I can't, because I was so shy.
Afraid.
Wow.
So my sergeant, when we had equality, which they kindly gave us, I think it was 1979, bless their cotton socks, I told them there would never be equality, and they said, "Don't you think?" I said, "No, you're never going to be equal to me."
Nice.
But, my sergeant, who there was two different ways of thinking about having women as equals in the police force in 1979. Some of the men were absolutely happy that we were there because they felt that there was a void, there was a need for women to get involved in, the same as they did.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of resentment from some of the wives that would be working with their men during the night times,
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
We went from 2/3 pay to full pay because we were now
Equal.
viewed as equal. As I say, bless their cotton socks. And and so some of the guys resented that because they felt that this was a man's world and we had a
Mhm.
very small part to play in it. And so if we wanted to be equal, okay, you can pull that body out of the river because you're equal now, or you can walk on your own all night because you're equal, but we're going to drive around all night. Just you that's going to walk, okay?
Yeah.
And so that's what we had. Sometimes, not all the girls. We were actually my era was sort of pioneers for the women that have come along today.
Mm.
And I remember one night, my sergeant, who was one of the ones that felt that okay, you want to be equal, out you go and walk all night. He said to me, it was Christmas Eve, and he said to me, "Go out to this club. Everybody's parked on double yellow lines outside, and I want you to put tickets on all of them." Well, I was walking along and I thought, how mean is that, really? It's Christmas Eve. You know, my parents weren't well off,
Yeah.
they worked hard. They were hardworking people, but they weren't well off. And I thought to hit people with a fine at Christmas is horrible.
Yeah.
It's like he was setting you up for that, though, right?
Possibly,
Yeah.
possibly. He'll be long dead now, so he won't ever come back and argue with me.
Yeah. I mean, if it just from an outsider's perspective, it
Yeah.
sounds like
Yeah.
he was setting you up for
Yeah.
being the bad guy and being in a bunch of conflict.
Yes. But anyway, I went to this thing. I could hear the music playing inside this hall, and I thought, I can't do this. It's horrible. I feel like the
Right.
devil.
Mhm.
So I thought this is a good way for me to come out of my little shell. So I walked up the stairs, and I can remember it was right up the steep steps into this dance hall, and it was obviously it was in the 70s. There was this big globe going around lighting up the place, and there was
Disco, baby.
a real band. There was a band playing.
Yeah.
And it was all dark and everybody was dancing and I could see they were all dressed up, in their best. And I got up on the stage
Oh,
and I picked
wow.
up the microphone and then I thought, oh, I'm stuck now. So
I have to do
music
something.
stopped, the lights went on, and there I am standing there and I'm like, hello. So I said to them, hello. And everybody's like, looking at me like, where did she come from? And I said, hi. I said, look, my sergeant has told me to come and put tickets on all the cars that are parked outside. But it's Christmas. So I've got one ticket here, and the last person to move their car gets it. So
Oh, how brilliant. That is
Oh.
brilliant.
everybody left the hall. And all these cars, there was about 40 of them. They left their wives, they're just going to move the car, darling, and off they went. Anyway, I didn't give the last one to anybody because, I just tucked it back in my pocket and I walked back to the station and all the cars were gone. And the sergeant said to me, I thought I told you to put tickets because he thought it was going to be like an all night job or till they all left,
Yeah.
until the party ended. He said, I told you to put tickets on all the cars that were there. I said, they're all gone, Sarge. He said, what? He said, get in the Panda and show me. Well, I wasn't allowed to drive. He had to drive because the men wouldn't let you drive. And so he drove down and it was like, what happened? Where did they all go?
I don't know.
He said, what did you do? And I said, oh, I can't tell you that. I couldn't tell you my secrets.
Oh, nice.
And that was that. But I learned something.
Yeah.
I learned that, if you stand there and make yourself do things, you don't have to be the enemy,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
you could make stuff. It's not that I wanted to be popular. I just didn't want to be unfair to people.
Right.
And we
And I
really need more of that in the police forces. That's amazing. You weren't on this power trip to, well, I'm the police. I'm going to tell
Do
you
what
what to
we
do,
do.
basically. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
you were there to really be a positive force in the community, which I love.
I like to think that I was. I don't think I ever was that person that, if I never said to anybody when I was off duty, look, I'm police, because
Yeah.
I always thought to myself, if I'm not strong enough to be a person in my own right, then I don't deserve to wear the uniform. So I
Yeah.
never called on my job. If somebody when I was on holiday, I always used to tell them I was a secretary because, I had experience of being a secretary.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question for you about that, Jayne. Not to interrupt, but just to rewind a bit, we talked about Angie mentioned sort of the balance of being a police officer and having to deal with trauma and having to keep all that balanced. But I'm just curious because you were in the force at a pivotal time when the balance of men and women working in the police department was off, and you were part of the process of that, of true equality coming across the board there. But when you first started, were there a lot of other women in the police force? Because I think about I have friends that are police, and I know there's a certain level of camaraderie in a way that you deal with the trauma by having the time back in the station to talk to each other, and that blow steam off in a way that only police can understand because they've all been part of it. You couldn't have this conversation with your family or your friends. And I wonder if there was such divide and equality and so much resentment, it seems, from some of the men that wouldn't let you drive and would, in my mind, like a sergeant that would put you in a position where you have to go do these things. Were there other women or even other men that were on board that you could vent to and you guys could all still have that camaraderie? Or was it hard to find back then?
Well, you asked me a lot of questions there, actually.
Yeah, sorry.
When I look back at the police force, I think there was 3,700 police officers, and I think 32 of them were women.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
In those days. So, but we all knew each other,
Yeah, of course.
When there was equality, beforehand, we used to work in a policeman's department, and they used to call us the knitting circle. We were allowed out. We could go, if they needed a woman because they had a woman prisoner, we were called. But we didn't deal with regular stuff. We didn't deal with road traffic accidents or anything like that. I can remember walking into town and coming across an accident where a poor woman died. And I had to call for a male officer to come down and deal with the accident because I wasn't allowed to.
Wow.
But not everybody was anti-women joining. There were some supermen. I mean, I had really lovely friends, male friends in the police as a youngster. Every section in the police were given a token woman. And on that section of, say, about 20 officers, I would say probably 5 of them wouldn't want you there. They would tell you how much, I don't want to have to go out and look after you. Now I've got to not just look after myself. I've got to babysit you as well. I've got to look after you.
And that was the mentality that a woman is frail and you have to protect her. That's how men were raised.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But I was 6'1". I was Aikido trained. I learned Aikido very well. I could look after myself,
Yeah.
I didn't need a 5'7" guy that had to walk, made me walk on the road while he walked up on the pavement, and hopefully
so he could look taller.
Yeah.
That's when you say, I don't want to have to look after you.
Right.
Yeah. I used to be very careful at times later in my service that because there were height restrictions when I joined, but obviously it didn't apply to me because I was obviously tall enough.
Yeah.
But for the men, it was 5'7". I think for the women, it was 5'4". And they were changed when people came back from the army in, fighting. And they weren't allowed into the police force because they were deemed too short. So they had to make it so that there were no height restrictions. But it wasn't something that bothered me. But I was very aware that when there were shorter men than me, I had to sit when I talked to them because when I stood up, I was intimidating. And I learned that very, very early on, that if I didn't want to intimidate somebody, just keep sitting down.
Wow.
But if I did want to intimidate them, I would most surely
stand up.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Please don't think that everybody was anti-women because they weren't.
Oh, no, I don't. Yeah.
I had a whole set of guys that if I was in trouble, they would come out before I could say Jack Robinson, really.
Yeah.
And they used to spoil me. When I was walking, if the sergeant put me out in the cold, they used to come and pick me up and let me get warm in the car, in the back of the car for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I used to wear a cape in those days because it was freezing. I used to pick up a stray cat, put it under my cape, keep warm,
Keep warm.
and then I'd drop it off where I found it.
Oh, keeping each other warm.
You know, it was
Oh,
the old
gosh.
days. It was very, very old fashioned when I look back
Wow.
on it. But I think the women that were in the force then were most of them very strong women. The ones that weren't, when we had equality, quite a few of them left.
Yeah.
The strong ones stayed behind. And, I have the greatest respect for the other women because I think we were all quite strong characters.
Yeah.
And you had to deal with things that cropped up in a way that didn't offend people. It didn't alienate you from the guys. You
Right.
didn't go telling tales
Yeah.
because if you told tales, who are you going to tell? Another man. Because
Yeah.
there weren't many women in high places.
Yeah.
And, and so if a guy, I don't know, just say like if they on the odd occasions that they used to pull into a cemetery and switch the lights off and you'd feel this hand come around your shoulder and it's like, what are you doing? But you never reported it. You deal with it yourself because you couldn't tell tales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for example, I'll tell you a very quick story. We went out, there was a missing woman that actually made big news. Well, nationwide news.
Yeah.
And I was one of the few women that went out looking for her across Devon. And so I was with about 200 men, and they had this big tea urn and all these teacups. And I had some lovely guys with me, from my section, but my sergeant let me go because I bit a bloke's testicles in a fight, and I hate to say that word, but from that moment,
You were
I never
famous.
looked back. I never looked
Yeah.
back. The guys used to walk past and put their hands over their bits, and
I love it.
but I'd sort of I'd earned my stripes, if you like.
Yes, that's
from
what I
that
meant by
moment.
you're famous.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so I used to get to go where most girls didn't get to go,
Because
And
they knew
one of
you
the
could take
places-
care of yourself.
Yeah, that's what my
Yeah.
sergeant said. So I went out with all these guys, and we were looking for this woman for a few weeks, and they had this big tea urn and all these guys, and about 20 of them said, "Right, come on, go and make the tea." And I said to them, "Why me? I'm not here to make the tea. You make the tea." "No, you're the woman. Women should be you're here to be used and abused. Go and make the tea." But it was all in good fun. So I
Oh,
thought,
okay.
Okay.
I have to make this so that they're never going to ask me again, right? So
The
I went.
most awful tea.
Some bad tea coming.
So I went to the tea, yeah. Well, right next to the tea was the washing up facilities, and there was a bottle of, washing up liquids. So I went with all the cups. I put my finger with the soap around each of the cups, except mine, of course. And I carried this tray dutifully over to the guys, and I took mine that was untouched, and they all started to drink it. Of course, they realised instantly that there was soap all around the top of their mugs, and they ran after me and they chased me through this field. It was hilarious, actually, because I was like a little rabbit then. I could run. I was very thin. I ran for my life. They caught me and they carried me back over the top of their heads, right? But it was all fun, It was
Yeah.
clean fun. Apart from the fact that we were looking for this poor woman,
Yeah.
But, you have to throw a bit of fun into it.
Of course you
Keep
have
your
to.
sanity.
Mhm.
But I kept friends with all those guys, but they never asked me to make the tea again, and they never expected me to. I'd take my turn like everybody else, but I said to them, you can't, because I'm female, expect me to do those jobs because I won't do it.
Yeah.
You'll get the
Yeah.
same cup of tea each time, So
That's great.
If we, but if we all want to take turns doing it, that's fair.
Yes,
That's fair.
You know?
There's that equality.
That's right. I love it.
that's right. That's
but
right. Yeah.
those are great stories, Jayne.
So
Thank you for
much-
sharing those
Oh my
with us.
gosh.
So I want to bring it back to the book for a minute because we could talk about the writing process and all that kind of stuff. But what I really wanted to ask you was, I know that your books, the Thick Blue Line series, has been very successful. You've got a huge following from it, to the point to where you even have like fans demanding another book almost. And we'll talk about that too with your new novel coming out. But and I don't want to ruin the punchline, but the fact that you've gone from those challenges when you joined the force to your books now being recommended reading for people that are joining the force, that has to be incredibly gratifying for you.
Well, to be honest, I've had quite a few women say to me, I'm a new constable in Norfolk or Lancashire, and we've been advised to read your books because it shows how far we've come.
Yes.
I've also joined my old force. Somebody, I got in touch with somebody that I work with as I was writing my books. They came into my mind, and I thought, well, I wonder if they're on Facebook. And they said to me, you need to come in. People have always wondered, where did you go? Because I sort of just went off to Turkey.
Just moved, yeah.
So I met all these beautiful people, that I'd worked with when I was a youngster. Sadly, quite a few of them have gone, but there are still some that I knew very well. And then the scariest thing happened. One of my sergeants that I held high up said to me, "Jayne, I've just read your books," and I'm like,
"Oh no!"
because I've come out in my books, and none of them knew in the force. I kept my private life very private. My family, reading my family's like, but I felt that that's what I had to do. I had to have
of course
for you,
all the things I wanted to tell my mother, really.
Yeah.
And so the sergeant said to me, "I've just read your book, Jayne," and like, wow, you took me right back, to when I knew you, the year, the 70s. It was like, wow, I felt like I was taken back in time. But you've got such a memory. And I said, well, I have. He said, I loved them. Well, because I was like really worried that, because it's one thing for strangers to read your books, but when your peers read them, that's pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, of course.
And now I'm getting used to peers saying to me, "Jayne, I've read all your books." It's like, I love them. When's the next one coming out?
Yeah.
So it's been fantastic. I was really
that is amazing. And really that response to those through that series, that trilogy has led to your next book coming out, The Climb, correct?
Yeah, it has, yes. Because people said to me, I had strangers from all over the world, really, even like New Zealand and Australia. They were saying to me, I love Lucy. I love Lucy. Can you do a web page for Lucy fans? I said, I think I Love Lucy's already been done by somebody.
Nice.
But because that's the name of the person, the fictional character. But other people said to me, look, you can't leave it there. You can't just stop there. What's happened to her? And
because they fell in love with that character. It's like when you fall in love with a character, you don't ever want the books to end.
Yeah.
I think of like reading Nancy Drew books and what are the other, like Babysitter's Club, like these books when I was younger, that you just keep wanting that adventure of that character to keep going and going forever.
Yeah, I agree. Even as an adult, there's characters that at least you want to know where their life, where they settled in for the rest of their life kind of thing.
You have to have closure in your brain, right? Like
it's like watching a TV series, and it comes to an end, you feel really like something's lacking in your life because you can't carry on watching it,
Yeah.
There's no closure.
That's right. And by the way, my books would make a fantastic TV series, even if I have to say it myself.
It sounds like it.
It really does.
They have momentum and they have lots of different stories. I shouldn't say it, but that's what
it sounds like. It sounds like epic. It's funny because I've taken my shot at writing a screenplay recently, and don't normally do that, but the TV show, writing for a TV show and writing for a movie, very different things. I've done so much research recently, but that sort of episodic, it's a linear story, but there's episodic chunks out of it. Just from what I've read about your books and the conversations that we're having, it seems like a really good fit for episodic stories within the bigger story. So I would agree with you, having not even read the books yet.
And you never know who's listening. So you never know.
That's true.
You never know. But I also had men and women say to me, you're not going to kill her, are you, in book 3? Because if you kill her, I'm not buying the third book. You have to tell me. You promised me you won't kill her, and I thought, no, I'm not going to kill her. It's me.
It's me, people.
But and people say to me, "Oh my God, it's so you," because that's what you say. I can tell just by reading it. That's so what you would do. That's your turn of phrase because you can't help it.
Yeah, of course.
People say to me when I read it, I see you in that part anyway because I know it's you. You can't
Wow.
make out it's fictional. We know it's you.
So I have a question. I have a question about that fictional piece of it because you said you've had colleagues read it, or you're like wondering. You mentioned early on about the idiots, and maybe they don't care because maybe they're not reading it. But having again written, and I know you do that little thing at the beginning of all of our books. We have to put that say characters are fictional and any
Likeness,
coincidence,
yeah.
likeness, blah blah. Did you have to change the names of everybody in the book that was really referring to someone in your life?
Well, I've been a little bit crafty because what I've done is because I was in 2 police forces,
Yeah.
I can change over which police force it happened in as well as change the names.
Oh, nice.
So
Smart.
that those in one force won't know that I'm writing about their force. They'll think I'm writing about mine.
Yeah.
I
And
love
just
it.
in the interest of protecting you here, let's also say that I think every author, myself included, does that where sometimes characters are part of one person and part of another person merged into one person. So
One character, yeah.
So you're not really, in case anyone ever comes forward and says, I know this is about me and, you're in big trouble or something.
Yeah. Well, all authors take experience through,
You have to.
people
You
they've
have to.
seen walking down the street, or a character, characteristic of somebody sitting on a plane.
Or someone you knew. Yeah.
You're always taking experiences from your real life and kind of making a character out of those experiences,
The actual person.
right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I just wondered that because I figure when your colleagues read it, they probably knew who these characters are influenced by, let's say. Whether they knew it was them or not, I don't know.
Somebody did recognize themselves.
Oh, did they?
Said,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they said, I forgot you did that for me, Jayne.
Oh.
That's a good
so
one.
much. Yeah, I forgot you did that for me because I did do what I said, but I changed their names.
Yeah.
And they said that was me. And I forgot until now, till I read your book and I thought, yes, she did that for me too.
Oh, you do have an amazing memory. I envy you for that because when you're telling the story of even walking into the club and getting up on the stage, I'm thinking just the way you describe it as if it happened last week and you really remember the details, or getting the cat to stay warm. That's amazing. That is a
Good memory. Yeah.
I have to tell you that I've got a photographic memory, which has been such a boon for my job.
Sure.
I know a superintendent once said to me, he would say to me, do you know such and such? Do you know this person? I'd say yes. Do you know what his wife's name is? And I'd say yes. Do they have any children? Yes, they got 2 sons. Would you know their names? And he said to me, you are the closest thing to a walking computer that I've ever met.
Well, that's got to be,
you just sort of go through your brain, and then you say, Daniel and Joe, and one's 9 and one's 11.
Wow.
Amazing.
Well, that would be a benefit in any career, but it's funny because being an author to write the stories, but also being in the police force, that having that ability to remember what you saw or what a suspect looked like, that had to come into play there as well.
Can I tell you another quick story?
Of course.
Where I live now, behind me is a block of flats that they put up after I bought my house. And I was out putting my washing up, and there was a lady on the balcony of one of the flats who was English, smoking. And she said, hi. And I looked up and I said, hi. And she said, are you new here? And I said, yes, I am. But I know you. And she said, no, you don't know me. I said, I do. And she said, no, you don't. I've been here 20 years. And I said, but I do know you. She said, where from? I said, I don't know, but I know you. But next time I see you, I'll tell you where I know you from. And I went indoors and she said, okay, but I know you don't. Anyway, I went indoors, and the next time I was out in my garden, she was out smoking, and she said to me, well, did you work out where you knew me from? And I said, I did. You were at Devizes in Wiltshire on a driving course in September 1976, the same time that I was there. You weren't in my force. You were with all these other people, there was lots of men and women, but that's where I know you from. I said, but I don't know which force you were from, but you weren't from my force. She said, oh my God, I was. How do you know that? Because I recognized her. And all I have to do, it was the same with my exams, my police exams. If I'd read the stuff, all I had to do was just breathe when I took my exams and say to myself, look, I've read it. It's in my head somewhere. I just need to pull it out. And that's how I passed all my exams.
Wow, you're quite extraordinary. That's pretty amazing.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. I've always been able to dream dreams. I can read books in my dreams if I'm studying for my exams. And if I don't understand it, I get up and go to the real book downstairs, look at it, go back to sleep and dream it so that I've got it in my head.
Wow.
Really
Oh my gosh. That's holy moly.
That is impressive.
I didn't have to do research for my books. It just was
there.
It's just there. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. So when does the Climb launch, or when is your release date?
Has just been released this week.
Oh, it was. Oh, how
Yes,
great!
I've just had a look actually just before I joined you, and I see that the paperback's already on Amazon.
Awesome.
So the ebook will be following shortly.
So it's way too new to have gotten really any feedback yet.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I think it's the first day it's been on there actually today. I was excited to see it because Jill, Dean's wife, actually did the cover, and I absolutely love it.
Oh, I'm excited to go check that out.
Yeah.
So we're going to put that up. Once we find it, I'll put it up on the video here. For those of you watching on YouTube, it should come up on screen right now. So that'll be cool to see.
Oh my gosh, so excited for you.
Thank you. But it's actually a book that wasn't being planned. It was actually written because of people saying you can't leave it there.
Yeah.
And so it details what happened to Lucy when she retired, and
so it's going to give them some closure. It'll give them some closure, hopefully.
Yes.
So I don't want to give anything away about the book, but you have retired in Turkey. Is there any chance that the Climb has similarities there? No.
When you say similarities, what do you mean?
I mean similarity.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Does it follow my own life? Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, I love that though.
Lucy's still having adventures and fighting battles. So yeah, she doesn't change, but there's excitement in the book. There's lots of things happen that she wasn't prepared for.
It's part of the journey, baby.
Yeah, I love it.
That's right. And
that's what I say.
Journey. It's the rich tapestry of life, the ups and downs of life. The great peaks and the sad disappointments. But that's what it's about.
That's amazing.
We wish you much success. It's been great talking to you. I do want to ask you one more thing, though. And I don't know. And so for those of you listening, by the way, as you've heard Jayne refer to Dean, that's a mutual friend of ours. And that's kind of how we got connected with each other. But I'm hearing that you might also be working on a series of fictional detective books with a psychic twist.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
and that
sounds
is right up my alley.
Yeah.
That is more up my alley for sure. Can you tell us anything more about that, or is it too new?
Well, I've put my mind to it already this week, and I think I have a really good plot that's going to, even when I think about it, it makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool.
It's going to be a really fictional thing. It's about a detective sergeant who has these psychic powers,
right?
Which she speaks. I've actually got a name I just wrote down last night. I'm going to call it Lost Spirits, Found Souls.
Oh, I like it.
I do too. So she speaks to the dead?
She speaks to ghosts, yes.
Okay, cool.
She attracts spirits, and she's sometimes too busy to help, but she ends up helping. She's got her antagonist will be her boss, who doesn't believe in spiritual things, but takes the credit every time she solves his big cases.
Okay.
Oh, that's very well. That's a very well done.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah,
so he's a guy that you're going to love to hate. So she's going to be exciting. It's going to be an exciting book. I'm hoping, but that one's in the pipeline for
that is awesome.
That is awesome.
So with all your adventures, it seems like this is kind of your niche, writing books. Is this what you see doing for the rest of your retirement?
No, because I'm quite busy doing other things too.
Yeah. What kind of things do you do for fun? Like just out and about when it's not so cold, and when you can when you're not on lockdown like you guys are right now?
Lockdown's really curtailed my because I've got beautiful friends here. Like if I was in England, I would pick these people as friends. You know,
Oh,
it's not
great.
because we're all in
Yeah.
Turkey. I have got amazing, amazing friends here, and so yeah, I'm a lady of leisure, really. But I keep busy. You know, at
Good.
my house, my garden. I've got fruit trees. I've got olive trees.
Oh, this sounds like heaven to us.
Yeah, it does.
Well, I usually have olive picking parties
Oh, so
because
fun.
I've got so many. I've only got 2 trees, but they give me like 50 kilos of olives.
Oh,
And
wow.
so what I usually do, and I didn't do it this year because of lockdown. You know, lockdown ruined it really. But what I usually do is I invite all my friends, only the women. The men have to cook. They have to serve
Oh, I
food.
love this.
I
cook.
love it.
I do Turkish foods. We put the tables out. We all have a sort of like a meet up and a gossip, and we all pick olives and make each other laugh. And then we go off in our cars into the village. We take our olives and we get them squished by the guy into olive oil.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
And then everybody gets their little bottle of olive oil to take home. And it's a lovely, memorable day, you
I
know.
love it.
This sounds like the kind of thing that we would pay for. This sounds like
Yeah.
a thing we would pay to go do.
Well, I have people that say to me, "Don't leave me off your list, will you? Make sure I come to your party." You know, because it's turned out to be quite a thing over the years. You know, that
Yeah.
people say to me,
Yeah.
"Don't leave me off your olive picking list." But
Wow.
yeah, it's lovely because here they have. I'll just tell you quickly. You don't pay for olive oil. What you do is you pick your olives. You take them to this communal
Wow.
place where they squish them into olive oil, and say you have like 50 kilos. For every 11 kilos, they'll give you 1 liter, but it actually takes 6 kilos.
So they're
So
keeping some. That's
they're
kind of how
keeping
they make
5.
their business.
And
Yeah.
that's how they run their business. So no money changes hands. You go there
Trade
with all your old
process. Yeah.
containers, you know, your washed out containers, and they fill them up, Coca-Cola bottles, whatever you've got.
That is
They fill them
amazing.
up, and you get, you know. But over the years, as the guys got to know me, I've realized that it's gone from me having to have 11 kilos per liter to now it's down to 7. So
Oh, you're getting the
you
deal.
know, he's getting used to me, and he knows I'm cottoning on. You know, you used to make it 11. He doesn't, you know, he
Oh, I
doesn't do
love
it
that.
anymore.
It sounds like you
Yeah.
have a wonderful life there,
It
Jane.
really
do.
does.
I'm very happy. You know, I miss my mum and dad, of course,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but I've still got my brother and my older sister, and you know, and my niece, who's absolutely beautiful.
That's
My surrogate
amazing.
daughter. I have not a lot of friends, but the ones I've got are real quality. I've got real quality friends.
Well, quality
And
over quantity is the most
yeah,
important, isn't it?
that's how I like it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've got beautiful friends.
Very
And
nice.
I
That's amazing.
really enjoyed talking to you. I was so nervous.
Oh,
Oh,
And I've
we'd love to
really
hear
enjoyed
that.
it.
We have too.
Yeah.
This has been
Enjoyed it.
great.
I
well,
hope I
maybe
come
we
back
will
again.
plan a trip to Turkey in our future because we are adventurers as well.
That would be fantastic.
And maybe we
I
can
would, yeah, that'd
pop
be
in
great.
and say hello.
You could see my house. You
Oh
could
my
see
gosh,
my
and hug the pillars. I would love
I'll
that.
send you a picture. I'll send you a picture of my
Oh,
house.
please do.
Yes, please
Yes.
do. We would
So
love
you'll
to
see
see it.
why you know, I loved it so much. Yeah. It's been lovely to speak to you.
It really
You
has.
too,
It's
Jane.
been an absolute pleasure. And your life is so interesting, just past
That's
and
so
present.
amazing.
I
And
hope
we
I
wish
haven't
you
made
continued
your ears
success. Say again?
I said, I hope I haven't made your ears bleed because I
Oh,
Oh
no,
no,
no, not at all.
we could probably do the podcast for 3 or 4 hours straight, but
Sure.
people will listen about an hour.
Yeah.
So that's why we cut it down because we could talk forever.
We
literally.
could for sure. And we wish you continued success. I know you're going to
Thank you
have
so much.
continued success in your life. And
Thank
for those of you listening and watching, we're going to put links in the show notes like we always do. So you can find out where to get all of Jayne's books and how you can keep track of what she's got going on.
That's right. And I will be ordering all the books because I already can tell that I'm how I am with my series because I like series as well.
Yeah.
Like I like a good trilogy. I'll devour them very
Yeah.
quickly. So I'll have to have them all lined up so I can just go.
It's really lovely of you to have me here. Thank you so much for letting me come on and talk.
Thank you so much once again.
I
And
enjoyed
you have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Thank
All
you,
right, Jayne.
Jayne.
Bye-bye now. Good night.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys, we'll be right back after a quick break.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Wow, I am just blown away by that interview with Jayne Gooding.
So great.
I'm ready to take a trip to Turkey. I'm not even
I
lying.
am too.
Like, I've got to go meet her in person.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, she just seems like just a real life Wonder Woman to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree.
So, thank you so much, Jayne, for being on the show.
Yes, thank you. And there was so much more we could have gotten into, but
I could have been 4 hours talking to her.
Yeah. And I know that she has, I know just from talking to our mutual friend, Dean, that, she has been a part of some major headline. She mentioned one of them, but she's been involved in like headline crimes, as a police officer, just a lot of really intense experiences,
Yeah. So putting that in a book, I mean, you just really want to read it,
Yeah.
So as soon as the show is done, I'm going and ordering the books.
Yes. And true story.
I enthralled for a while, I'm sure.
I just had to interrupt Angie from ordering. She's in the middle of ordering the books so we could wrap up the show.
So we have to wrap up. So I've got to go order the book now. And then we are actually recording on Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
A day late.
Yeah.
But anyway, today's today my youngest son, Logan, is coming over.
Yep.
And he gets his special dinner. So something I do for my kids every year is now that I've done it since they've been little, but I've always let them pick whatever they want for dinner.
Yep.
No
you let all of us do that now.
Yes. And it's homemade, everything's from scratch. And so this year he picked a seafood smorgasbord. And yes, he was actually born on Valentine's Day. So he is a Valentine's Day baby.
Yep.
He chose king crab legs and he wants scallops and shrimp. And I'm doing those little biscuits like they do at Red Lobster for like a side.
So basically when it's Logan's birthday, it's kind of like my birthday.
It is kind of like whoever comes, it's kind of like their birthday too, because they get but he did say for a side he wanted green bean casserole, and I had to talk him out of that one. I'm like, that doesn't really go with the seafood. Well, let's do like asparagus or something. So we're doing that, and then strawberry shortcake, homemade strawberry shortcake.
Oh, sounds amazing.
So it's going to be an amazing dinner. So happy birthday to my baby boy. He is 22 this year.
Yes, happy birthday, Logan.
Wow. Happy birthday, Logan Sanders. But anyway, what a great show. Guys, we appreciate each and every time you tune in. And in helping to make our podcast a success, we could not do it without listeners or people watching our YouTube videos or checking in on us on our social media. So thank you so much for that. And, if you ever have a idea for the show, where can they reach us, Daniel Fox?
I'm glad you asked, actually. You can call us at 407-490-3899 if you have an idea for the show, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, or if you have a recommendation for a guest on the show. And actually, that's how we found Jayne. It came in as a recommendation. So our first international guest. But yeah, you can also reach out to us at feedback@fineanddangie.com. That's DANJEE.com. You can also find us on all of our social media at
Fine and Dangie.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Imagine that. And guys, please give us a rating and a review if you like the show, and make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can see what's going on each and every week. Shows come out every Monday, and we hope that we're bringing some great quality interviews to you and letting you know what's going on in the community. We did mention the Paint Out last week.
Yes.
And I did want to mention where we went last night.
Well, mention it.
I'm going to. So Dan for Valentine's Day actually took me to the Wayne Densch Performing Arts Center down in Sanford, Florida. And we went to this really cool thing that they do for independent film
makers. Yeah.
Filmmakers.
Yep, it's called Love Your Shorts.
Yeah. Love Your Shorts. And there's different genres. And we were for the comedy genre.
Yep.
And they showed like 9 short films, literally 9, short films by independent filmmakers. And then at the end, you get to vote for who was the best, the winner. There was some hilarious ones. I'm not going to lie.
Really were. And I love that you could go there all day, late into the evening. It's an hour and change block for comedy. They have sci-fi and horror. They have drama. So we went for the comedy one.
Yeah. And the center down there is beautiful. Downtown Sanford is a really happening place now. And I mean, it's just amazing food down there, amazing little bars. It's becoming really like a craft beer capital, like we're used to in North Carolina.
Indeed.
So super excited to start kind of making Sanford a part of our adventures on the weekend.
We are, and the Wayne Densch Performing Arts Center, they were practicing social distancing. Everybody's wearing a mask.
Yes.
They got people sitting far apart from each other. And I love that we're finding a way to go do things and be as safe as we can, but not necessarily having to just be stuck at home. So we really appreciate
everybody's
that.
practicing it now.
Yeah.
So it's easier to be able to go out and about because everybody is practicing this being as safe as possible. Which I love.
So that was really enjoyable. And I agree, Angie. Sanford's becoming a hotspot. I can't wait to get back out there when the world gets back to normal. We also want to ask you to remember, as we do every week, what are you doing to help the people in your community? If you have funds to help with your local charitable organizations, please do that. If you don't, just, do anything you can. If you can donate some of your time, if you're limited on both, just consider throughout your day what you can do to help other people just around you to make their lives better.
Yeah. And even just word of mouth. Like if you go to a really good local restaurant or hear of a small nonprofit, word of mouth does a whole lot for somebody. That's free marketing, free advertisement. Make sure you're talking about those that are doing good in your community, because that is a wonderful way to just spread goodness.
It really is. And, it's perpetual. People will help you. You help people.
That's right, guys. And remember, at the end of each and every day, it's all fine and dandy.
Oh, you can?
I'm not talking into the microphone.
That has got to be on the outtakes.
Hi, guys. Welcome.
My microphone's not working. Oh.
Whatever. And remember, at the end of each and every day, what did it? So many outtakes. Whatever.
There's not that many.